On the eve of Halloween, the waves of the sea stirred with a mix of mystery and fear. Splash, an adventurous seal with silvery fur and bright eyes, was at her favorite beach on the coast of Spain. The sky began to darken, tinted with orange and purple, as if nature itself was preparing for the celebration. But something wasn't right. Splash looked to the horizon and saw dark, towering waves that seemed to writhe in a macabre dance. Why are those waves so different today? She thought, furrowing her brow. The cool sea breeze seemed to whisper secrets, and her curiosity drove her to investigate. With a surge of determination, she decided she couldn't face that strangeness alone. "I need Miguel and Lucia," she murmured, swimming quickly toward the reef where her friends usually gathered. Upon arrival, Splash found Miguel, an agile and playful dolphin, happily leaping over the waves. He was in his usual display of acrobatics, spinning in the air and diving back with a cheerful splash. "Miguel! Miguel!" called Splash, her voice echoing like a joyful song. The dolphin turned, a wide smile lighting up his face. "What's up, Splash? You look like you've seen a shark," he joked, swimming over to her. "Or maybe a ghost. It is Halloween after all." He winked, and his laughter mingled with the sound of the waves. "It's worse than that. Look at those dark waves," said Splash, pointing to the horizon. "They don't look normal. We need to investigate." Lucia, the dolphin with bluish fur and wise eyes, appeared just behind, having overheard the conversation. "What's going on? Splash, you seem so agitated." She approached, tilting her head in curiosity. "Those waves, they're different," Splash explained, her serious tone contrasting with the lightness of the atmosphere. "I feel like something is wrong, and I can't ignore it." Miguel, ever the optimist, shook his head. "Let's go then. What are we waiting for? An adventure awaits." He jumped, as if already ready to set off. "But what if it's dangerous?" Lucia questioned, a bit hesitant. "I don't like the idea of getting into trouble. We need to know what's happening. What if it's something that could affect all of us? We need to protect our home," insisted Splash, feeling the weight of responsibility. "You're right, Splash. Let's go together." Lucia finally agreed, her expression turning determined. "If we're together, we can face anything." With a shout of excitement, the three friends began to swim toward the dark waves. The water grew colder as they got closer, and the tension in the air was palpable. Laughter and games were replaced by the sound of the moving waters, and Splash felt a chill in her stomach. "Do you feel that?" Miguel asked, his eyes fixed on the waves. "It's as if the waters are whispering." "Yes," Splash replied, her gaze focused. "It's like something is calling us." As they drew nearer, a whisper seemed to echo among the waves, a sad melody that made Lucia's heart race. "This doesn't sound good," she murmured, looking around. "Trust me, Lucia. We need to find out what's going on," Splash encouraged, diving deeper to listen better. Curiosity was at her core, and she couldn't ignore the call. "I'm going with you," said Miguel, swimming alongside Splash. "We're in this together. If anything happens, I'll be here." "That's right. Let's find the truth," Splash affirmed, determined. Together, they dove into the dark waves, ready to face the unknown and uncover the secrets the sea held that Halloween Eve. Splash and her friends swam energetically toward the coral reef, which stood out like an oasis of vibrant colors amidst the darkness of the ominous waves. The mystical light emanating from the location irresistibly drew them in, and Splash, her eyes sparkling with curiosity, couldn't contain her excitement. "Look at this! It's so beautiful!" she exclaimed as they approached the reef. Miguel, always the cautious one of the group, looked around with a mix of admiration and concern. "Yes, but we need to be careful. Those dark waves are nearby, and we don't know what they might do," he replied, keeping a serious tone. Lucia, on her part, was more worried about the sense of unease that surrounded her. "I don't like this. I feel like something is wrong," she said, glancing at the waves crashing forcefully in the distance. As the three explored the reef, they were greeted by an explosion of colors. The corals, in shades of pink, blue, and yellow, swayed gently with the ocean currents, and small colorful fish swam among them. "It's like a dream," murmured Lucia, momentarily forgetting her apprehension. Splash, in her enthusiasm, began to play among the corals, making bubbles that reflected the sunlight. "Come on, friends, let's play," she called, but before they could join her, a majestic figure emerged from the shadows of the reef. It was an old turtle, her shell covered in seaweed, and a wise look in her eyes. "Be careful, young ones. The sea holds secrets that should not be taken lightly," warned Tula the turtle. Her voice was deep and echoed like a gentle song. "Who are you?" Miguel asked, curious yet cautious. Tula looked at them with a kind smile. "I am Tula, the guardian of this reef. The dark waves you fear are manifestations of the sadness of a forgotten sea spirit that dwells in the depths," she explained, observing the reactions of the young ones. "Sadness? But why is this happening?" Lucia asked, now more interested than scared. Tula took a deep breath before answering. "Many years ago, this spirit lost something very dear. Since then, he has been wandering the ocean, causing the waves to turn dark and restless. But there is a way to calm him," Tula said, her eyes shining with an ancient hope. Splash, determined and with her heart racing, interrupted. "What do we need to do?" Tula smiled, admiring the young seal's courage. "To restore peace, you must find a lost object hidden in an underwater cave. Only then can you bring relief to the spirit, and consequently, to the sea." "A cave? That sounds exciting," exclaimed Splash, while Miguel exchanged a worried glance with Lucia. "What if it's dangerous? We don't know this place," Miguel said, his voice heavy with doubt. Tula noticed the hesitation of the young ones and tried to comfort them. "Yes, it may be risky, but the courage you have shown so far is the first step. And remember, you are not alone. Your friendship and unity will be the strength that guides you." Splash felt a warmth in her chest, certain that together they could face any challenge. "We're ready, Tula. Let's find this object and help the spirit," she declared, her determination evident. Lucia, inspired by her friend's bravery, agreed. "Yes, let's do this. Together." Tula then gestured with her flippers, bringing a magical shell to the surface. "Take this. With it, you can communicate with the spirit and understand its sadness. Now, prepare yourselves, for the journey is just beginning." Splash carefully took the shell, admiring its shine and the promise it represented. With a mix of anxiety and excitement, Splash, Miguel, and Lucia prepared for their new adventure. The dark waves still churned in the distance, but the trio's determination reignited a spark of hope in the heart of the sea. Before they set off on their journey, Tula, the wise turtle, looked deeply into the eyes of Splash, Miguel, and Lucia. "This magical shell," Tula said, as her flippers slowly moved to retrieve the shimmering object from the ocean floor, "has the power to calm the spirit. When you hold it, you will hear the whispers of the sea and understand what it needs." Splash took the shell carefully, admiring its brilliance. "Thank you, Tula. We will find this lost object and help the spirit find peace," the seal affirmed, feeling her determination swell inside her. "Be careful of the currents," Tula warned before they set off. "They can be treacherous. Remember, the strength of friendship is the key to overcoming any challenge." With those words resonating in their minds, Splash, Miguel, and Lucia began to swim toward the unknown. As they moved away from the colorful reef, the dark waves became more apparent, and the tension in the air was palpable. Splash, Are you sure we should continue? Lucia asked, her tone heavy with concern. These waves are different. Yes, I am, Splash replied with a confident smile. We need to find out what's causing this. Together we are stronger. Miguel, always the bold one, swam alongside Lucia, trying to calm her. Look, Lucia, we've faced tough things before. We can do this. Let's support each other. The first strong current hit them suddenly. The waters churned, pushing them back. Watch out, Splash yelled as she struggled against the current's force. Miguel, use your speed. Realizing the urgency, Miguel focused and shot ahead, charting a safe path through the storm. Follow me. Channel your energy. He turned to see his friends battling the waves. Lucia hesitated, but Splash's determination encouraged her to keep going. We can do it, Lucia! Let's go! Splash shouted, her flippers cutting through the water with fervor. With one last push, Miguel guided the two out of the current, and they finally emerged into a calmer area. Phew! That was intense, Lucia said, panting but relieved. Do you think we made it? Yes, look how united we are, Splash replied with a smile. Friendship makes us strong. I didn't know it could be so scary, Lucia confessed, but her gaze was now more confident. But with you guys by my side, I feel like I can face any challenge. That's right, let's keep going, friends, Miguel exclaimed, energized. We still have a cave to explore. With their spirits lifted, the three friends moved forward, but soon encountered a dark path leading to the cave. Shadows danced on the walls, and the atmosphere grew heavier. Lucia hesitated, her heart racing. I don't know if I can go in there, Splash. It's too dark. Come on, Lucia, Miguel encouraged, swimming beside her. We've been through worse. We're together, and that's what matters. You're braver than you think, Splash said, looking into Lucia's eyes. Remember the magical shell. We're here to help the spirit. We need to go in. Taking a deep breath, Lucia nodded. Okay, I'm going to trust you. With that, they advanced, and the darkness enveloped them, but the light of the magical shell in Splash's hands illuminated the way. Inside the cave, a series of sea creatures appeared, initially hostile, with suspicious looks and abrupt movements. What are you doing here? One of the creatures snarled, its scales shimmering in threatening hues. We're here to help, Splash replied, lifting the magical shell. We come in peace. The creatures hesitated, but the light from the shell seemed to calm them. How can we know you're not enemies? One of them questioned, its voice echoing off the cave walls. Splash, with a sparkle of confidence in her eyes, looked at her friends and said, Friendship brought us here. We don't want to fight. We want to help restore the happiness of the sea. With a gesture, she held the shell closer, and a wave of light shone, enveloping all the creatures. Gradually, the hostile expression softened, and they began to pull away. If you seek peace, then follow us, one of the creatures finally said, opening a passage that delved deeper into the cave. This is working, Miguel whispered, excited. Let's move forward and see what we find. Together, they advanced through the passage, ready to face whatever lay ahead, confident that unity and courage would lead them where they needed to go. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia swam toward the dark cave, feeling the cold, dense water around them. Shadows danced on the walls, cast by a faint light that barely penetrated the surroundings. Lucia hesitated, feeling a knot in her stomach that made her stop for a moment. I don't know if we should go in, Splash. What could be inside? Her voice trembled, reflecting her insecurity. We have to do this. The spirit needs our help, and this cave might be the way to find it, Splash replied, trying to convey courage. Miguel approached Lucia, and with an encouraging smile said, I think we can face anything together. Remember how we overcame the current? We are a team. That's true, Lucia murmured, still hesitant, but a spark of determination began to light up her eyes. Let's go ahead then. We can't give up now. With that, they gathered and moved forward, diving into the darkness of the cave. As they ventured deeper, the sounds of the water grew more intense, and a sinister echo filled the space. Suddenly, a quick movement caught Splash's attention. Sea creatures emerged from the shadows, with bright eyes and strange shapes surrounding them. "What is that?" Lucia exclaimed, frightened. "They look hostile." Splash, sensing her fear, quickly remembered the magic shell that Tula had given them. "Wait, I have an idea." She swam forward, holding the shell tightly. "Maybe this will work." Miguel and Lucia watched as Splash approached the creatures, who seemed increasingly agitated. "Listen, friends of the sea," Splash called, her voice echoing in the cave. "We're here to help. We don't want to fight." With a gentle gesture, she placed the shell in front of them. The shell began to glow with a soft light, illuminating the cave and calming the atmosphere. The creatures, initially hostile, began to relax, their eyes shining with curiosity. "Look, they're backing away," Miguel said, surprised. "You did it, Splash." "Yes, now let's seize the opportunity," Splash encouraged, swimming into the passage that the creatures had opened. The shadows began to dissipate, and a new light formed ahead, revealing a deeper path in the cave. The tension started to transform into hope. Lucia, still amazed by Splash's bravery, remarked, "You're incredible, Splash. I wouldn't have been able to do that alone." "We're a team, Lucia. Together, we can overcome any challenge," Splash replied, feeling adrenaline rush through her fins. With the passage now clear, they swam into the cave. The walls were covered with vibrant corals and sea creatures that seemed to dance to the sound of the water. The environment was magical, and the heavy atmosphere that had once surrounded them was now replaced by a feeling of expectation. "We're getting close. I can feel it," Miguel said, swimming ahead, eager to discover what more the cave had to offer. As they moved forward, a more intense light began to shine in the distance, illuminating the path. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia exchanged determined glances, knowing they were closer to finding the glowing shell that could soothe the sea spirit. "Let's keep going. We're almost there," Splash exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. The team swam faster, the light from the magic shell now reflecting on their faces. Upon reaching a new chamber, an impressive sight unfolded before them. A glowing shell was at the center of a small coral altar, shining like a star at the bottom of the sea. "We did it! Look!" Lucia shouted, filled with joy. "It's beautiful!" The three cautiously approached, admiring the shell's beauty. Splash reached out to touch it, but at the same time, she felt the weight of the responsibility she was about to take on. This is the key to bringing peace to the spirit. We have to do this together. The pressure of the water increased as Splash, Miguel, and Lucia delved deeper into the cave, and the atmosphere became heavier. Shadows danced around them, creating a claustrophobic and frightening environment. With every movement, the tension grew, and the threat of an underwater storm loomed in the air. "I don't like this, Splash," Lucia said, her voice reflecting worry. "I think we should turn back. This doesn't feel right." "But we're so close," Splash replied, determined, despite the fear starting to creep into her mind. "The glowing shell is here somewhere, and we need it to help the spirit. We can't give up now." Miguel, ever the optimist, tried to encourage Lucia. "Let's keep going. We're together, and we're stronger that way. Remember what Tula told us. We need to believe in each other." Miguel's confidence seemed to calm her, even if just a little. With renewed determination, the trio pressed on, venturing deeper into the cave. However, as they entered a more open area, a wave of energy hit them. The sound of a distant roar echoed against the stone walls, and the water began to churn violently around them. "This isn't good," Lucia screamed as the currents began to pull them. "We need to get out of here." "Stay together," Splash shouted back, trying to keep calm. "Miguel, you can swim faster? Go ahead and lead us." Miguel nodded and with a surge of determination shot forward. The water was turbulent, but he focused on keeping his friends close. "Follow me!" he shouted, his voice steady despite the storm brewing around them. The pressure of the current intensified, and they struggled to stay together. Splash felt the fear growing inside her, but she couldn't let it take over. "Lucy, hold on tight," she urged, glancing at her friend who was struggling to keep up. "I'm trying," Lucia responded, as a stronger wave pushed her back. "I can't do it." "Come on, Lucia, you can do it. Think about the Halloween party, the candy, the dancing. Think about everything we're going to do after this." Splash encouraged, recalling the joy that awaited them above the surface. Noticing Lucia losing confidence, Miguel swam back a bit, moving alongside her. "Look at me, Lucia. You're strong. Together, we can do this." He quickly positioned himself around her, shielding her from the current. "Thank you, Miguel," Lucia shouted, her voice a mix of gratitude and relief. With her friend's support, she felt more secure and began to swim harder. The fierce current still challenged them, but they remained united. Splash had an idea. "We need to hold on to each other and swim together. If we form a triangle, we can support each other better." "Great idea," Miguel agreed. They quickly aligned themselves, Splash in the front, Miguel to the left, and Lucia to the right. With a shout of determination, they began to swim together, coordinating their movements. The strength of their friendship was palpable, and although the storm intensified, they managed to hold their ground. "Now, let's go," Splash yelled, and they all focused their energy in the direction Miguel indicated. With each flick of their tails, they surged forward, overcoming the current that once seemed insurmountable. The waves appeared to be in a frenzy, but their unity was stronger. By working together, they passed through the most critical part of the storm, and finally, the force of the water began to ease. "We did it," Miguel said, breathless, as they emerged into a calmer area. "We're alive!" Lucia exclaimed, relieved as the turbulent waves faded behind them. "That was amazing. You all were great." Splash smiled, feeling the adrenaline of the adventure still coursing through her. "That's what we do, right?" Miguel replied, winking at Lucia. "Nothing can stop us when we're together." With lighter hearts and a newfound sense of confidence, they continued on their journey, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia surfaced from the storm, their fins tired but filled with determination. The environment around the cave now seemed different. The walls, once dark and threatening, were illuminated by a soft glow seeping from outside, as if a warm light was infiltrating the entrance. The trio, still panting, exchanged looks of relief and anticipation. They knew they were about to meet the sea spirit, and anxiety mingled with hope in their hearts. "Look!" Splash exclaimed, pointing toward the cave entrance. "The light! That's where we need to go." Miguel, always the bold one, swam ahead, clearing the path for his friends. Lucia, though still a bit hesitant, let herself be carried by the confidence of her friends. As they approached the light, the figure of the sea spirit began to materialize, shrouded in shadows that seemed to dance around him. He was majestic, with an ethereal appearance, but his expression was one of deep sadness. "Welcome, travelers," his voice echoed like a whisper in the waters. "I am the spirit of the sea, and I thank you for venturing this far." The spirit's presence was both haunting and comforting, and Splash felt a chill in her stomach as she sensed the depth of his sorrow. She held the shining shell tightly, knowing it was the key to helping this sorrowful being. "We found the shell," Splash said, a mix of courage and shyness in her voice. We came to return what is yours." The spirit looked at the shell, and a wave of nostalgia seemed to wash over him. "Thank you, young friends. This shell was once a part of me, a symbol of my joy. But over the years, I lost it, and with it, my light faded." "What happened?" Lucia asked, her gaze sweet and gentle as she stepped closer to the spirit. "Why are you so sad?" The spirit hesitated, his shadow swirling as if trying to escape his body. "Long ago, I was a happy guardian of the sea, but a great loss made me forget who I am. Those I loved are gone, and the sea, which was once a place of joy, became an ocean of loneliness." The spirit's words resonated in Splash's heart. She recalled the stories Tula had told. The spirit's sadness was not just his, it reflected what many sea creatures felt when forgotten. Splash looked into the spirit's eyes, which now seemed clearer, as if they awaited understanding. "We won't forget you," she said firmly. "You're not alone. We can help you find peace." The spirit hesitated, the light within him battling against the shadows. "What can you do? I am just an echo of my former self." Miguel, always ready to act, stepped forward. "We are friends, and together we are stronger. If you let us, we can help you remember the joy you once had." Splash raised the shining shell between them, its surface reflecting the light beginning to emerge from the shadows. "This shell is not just a lost object. It is a symbol of what you can still be. The light it emanates is your true essence, waiting to shine again." The spirit looked at the shell, and a tear of light rolled down from his ethereal eye. "Can I really recover my joy? Is it possible to leave this sadness behind?" "Yes," Lucia shouted with determination. "Together we can do this. Let's bring back the light you deserve." Splash, Miguel, and Lucia exchanged glances, feeling the strength of her words echoing in the waters around them. The hesitant spirit began to lean toward the shell, and Splash felt a wave of hope rise in his heart. If they could help the spirit remember who he truly was, maybe the dark waves threatening the beach could be dissipated forever. The marine spirit, wrapped in ethereal shadows, looked at Splash and his friends with palpable sadness. The shadows danced around him, as if reflecting the pain he had carried for so long. Splash, with the shimmering shell glowing in his flippers, felt a tightness in his heart as he realized that this powerful entity was, in fact, just lost. Who are you?" The spirit's voice was soft, but it carried a deep melancholy. "Why have you come to this forgotten place?" "I am Splash, and these are my friends, Miguel and Lucia," the seal replied, his determination growing. "We came here to help. The dark waves out there, they belong to you, don't they?" The spirit nodded slowly, the sadness in his eyes intensifying. "Yes, they do. They are an extension of my pain. I feel forgotten, abandoned by those I loved and who have gone." The spirit's voice trembled, and the shadows around him seemed to stir in response to his anguish. "I lost something very precious, something that connected me to those I loved. Since then, my sadness has become a part of me. The dark waves are my laments, and they drive away anyone who approaches." Splash felt a surge of compassion and courage. "We found your shell. It's right here." He raised the shining shell, and the light emanating from it seemed to illuminate the cave, dissipating some of the shadows around the spirit. "You don't have to feel this way. We can help bring peace back to your heart." The spirit's eyes brightened for a brief moment, but soon the shadow of doubt took hold. "Do you really think this will work? I am just a lost spirit. What could a simple shell do?" "You are more than a lost spirit," Lucia interjected, her voice as gentle as the sea waves. "You are an important part of our world. If we can return your shell, perhaps you can find peace and light again." "Yes!" Splash exclaimed, encouraging his friends. "Your pain affects us all. The dark waves are not just yours. They affect us too. We want to help. The spirit looked at the shell in Splash's flippers, his expression beginning to change. If only I could forget. If only I could remember what it is to be loved again. The shadows around him began to twist, as if reflecting the spirit's internal struggle. You are not alone, Miguel said, swimming closer. We are here with you, and we promise not to forget you, even if storms come again. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia approached the spirit, forming a circle of friendship and support. The spirit began to calm, the light of the shining shell reflecting in his eyes. If I return the shell, will the dark waves dissipate? Yes, and you will find peace, Splash declared firmly. Let's do this together. With a hesitant movement, the spirit extended his spectral claws toward the shell, which began to shine brightly. If this really works, I will be eternally grateful to you. The sadness in his voice now mixed with renewed hope. Splash carefully handed the shell to the spirit. You are more than your shadows. Let us help you remember what is good and beautiful in this world. As soon as the shell touched the spirit's claws, a wave of light burst through the cave, and the shadows began to slowly dissipate. The spirit closed his eyes, and a look of relief spread across his face. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that I am not forgotten. The shadows finally began to disappear, taking with them the pain that had tormented the spirit for so long. The waters, now calm and vibrant, reflected the silvery light of the moon, illuminating the Halloween night. Exhausted but radiant after the intense adventure, Splash, Miguel, and Lucia began to dance on the gentle waves forming beneath them. The atmosphere was filled with joy and relief, and laughter echoed around as the three friends celebrated their victory. Look how beautiful the sea is now, Splash exclaimed, hopping in the water. That darkness can't stop us. That's true. The light the spirit gave us makes everything look magical, Miguel replied, performing a graceful spin. I've never seen the sea so beautiful. Lucia, still a bit hesitant but filled with joy, said, I can hardly believe we did it. And to think it all started with those dark waves. Now we can play without worries. And with a quick movement, she dove headfirst, emerging amidst bubbles that danced like stars around her. As the celebration unfolded, other sea creatures began to join the three friends. Colorful fish swam in circles, forming a rainbow of colors that lit up the night. Starfish and sea urchins approached, all drawn to the positive energy that filled the environment. Let's make a big circle, suggested Miguel, winking at the other dolphins who were swimming closer. Everyone, come on, let's celebrate together. Yes, a dance circle, shouted Splash, buzzing with enthusiasm. The more, the merrier. The animals quickly organized themselves, forming a large circle in the water. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia took the lead, moving in harmony with the gentle rhythm of the waves. Each movement was an expression of happiness and unity, and soon everyone was laughing and having fun, as if they were one single entity. I've never had so much fun, shouted Lucia, pulling a little fish to dance alongside her. Come on, you have to join in too. The little fish, initially shy, soon let itself be swept away by the joy of the moment and began to spin, causing laughter all around. The enthusiasm was contagious, and soon other animals were joining the party, forming a vibrant mix of colors and laughter. Who would have thought that Halloween Eve could be so amazing, commented Miguel, as he leaped out of the water and did a pirouette in the air. I think I'll never forget this day. Me neither, said Splash, grinning from ear to ear. We've done something incredible together. That's what friendship is all about. The waves, now filled with joy, seemed to dance alongside them, moving in a charming rhythm. The music of the sea, with its gentle waves and the distant murmur of other creatures, created the perfect soundtrack for the celebration. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia were so immersed in the joy of the moment that they lost track of time. "Let's make a toast," suggested Lucia, raising a shell she found on the sand. "To friendship and our adventures. May we always remember this day." "To friendship," everyone shouted in unison, lifting their shells and diving together in a collective splash, like a grand euphoric underwater toast. Bubbles rose in spirals to the surface, as if celebrating with them. As they continued to dance and play, Splash realized that the true magic was right there, not just in the now tranquil waters, but in the bond they had formed. They had faced challenges together, and now, in this moment of pure happiness, they could feel the strength of their friendship. "I don't think I'll ever be alone again," she thought, watching her friends dance around her. "Look, more friends are coming," shouted Miguel, pointing to a group of clownfish. "Let's invite them to join us." And so, the party went on. The sea, now a stage of joy and unity, echoed with laughter and songs as Splash, Miguel, and Lucia danced under the moonlight, celebrating not just their victory over the dark waves, but the friendship that would always unite them, no matter what challenges they might face in the future. The Halloween party was in full swing, with the ocean's waters now calm and vibrant. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia danced among the waves, surrounded by a crowd of sea creatures who joined the celebration. Laughter and play echoed along the shore, but amid the excitement, a soft light began to shine in the distance, capturing everyone's attention. It was then that the marine spirit appeared, no longer shrouded in shadows, but shining brightly like a star that had descended from the sky. Its contours were ethereal, a figure emanating a warm and welcoming light. The three friends stopped, awestruck, as the light approached, illuminating the sea around them. "Thank you for helping me find peace," the spirit said, its voice soft and melodic, like the sound of waves breaking on the shore. "You have no idea how much this means to me." Splash, with a sparkle in her eyes, replied, "We're the ones who should be thanking you. Without you, the dark waves would still be here, and the joy of the beach would have vanished. What will you do now?" The spirit smiled, the light around it pulsing gently. "Now that I've found peace, I can always be here to protect the sea and its inhabitants. The sadness that consumed me has disappeared, but the love I feel for this place and for all of you will remain." Lucia, still a bit hesitant, asked, "How will you help us? We want to make sure we never have to face dark waves again." "You are already doing that," the spirit replied, its voice resonating like a song. "Through friendship and teamwork, you have shown that love is the most powerful force of the sea. Whenever you come together, whenever you care for the ocean and its stories, I will be with you." Energized by the spirit's message, Miguel exclaimed, "So, whenever we're together, you'll be with us? That's amazing." "Yes," the spirit confirmed. "I will be an invisible guardian, always present in the stories you tell and the adventures you live. Promise me you will never forget me and what we've learned together." "We promise," Splash, Miguel, and Lucia said in unison, their hearts filled with determination. The bond they had formed with the spirit transcended any barrier. It was a connection that extended not only among themselves, but with the very essence of the sea. The spirit then began to shine even more brightly, illuminating the entire space around them. It addressed all the sea creatures who were now watching in admiration. "My dear sea creatures, always remember that sadness can be overcome with love and friendship. Take care of each other and of the ocean we call home." "Yes, we will take care," shouted the fish, turtles, and even the little crustaceans in a joyful chorus. The energy emanating from the spirit was contagious, and everyone felt more connected to one another. With one last smile, the spirit began to dissolve into a shower of twinkling lights. dancing through the air like stars of the sea on a cloudless night. It bid farewell, but not before leaving one final message. Never forget that, even in the darkest hours, the light of friendship can always shine. I am with you, now and forever. And so, as the light dispersed, Splash, Miguel, and Lucia felt a wave of happiness and gratitude. They knew that the spirit was not truly gone. Its essence was now part of the ocean and their stories. With hearts full of hope, they reunited, ready to face any challenge the future might bring, always together, always friends. At the height of the celebration, while Splash, Miguel, and Lucia danced among the gentle waves, a massive wave began to rise on the horizon. However, unlike the dark waves that had once terrified the beach, this one was vibrant and full of life. As the wave approached, the three friends stopped and looked on with curiosity and a hint of apprehension. "What could that be?" Lucia asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. "I don't know, but it seems different," Miguel replied, swimming a little closer to the edge of the wave, feeling the positive energy it radiated. Splash, always brave, looked at her friends and said, "Let's find out together. It could be something amazing." As the wave broke over them, a rain of colorful, shimmering shells fell from the blue sky, as if the sea itself was making an offering. The gathered sea creatures began to stir, marveling at the shower of gifts. Colorful fish leaped and twirled around, while starfish and rays floated joyfully, creating a magical scene. "Look at these shells," Lucia exclaimed, scooping up a few with her fins. "They're beautiful and full of life," Miguel said, holding a shell that shone brightly. "This is a sign that the sea is happy again." Splash laughed, feeling the contagious energy around her. "Let's throw a party. These shells are our new treasures." All the sea creatures began to gather, laughter echoing through the ocean depths. It was a celebration of gratitude, a recognition that sadness had dissipated and joy had returned. The marine spirit, now in the form of a glowing light, floated above the crowd, watching with a serene smile. "Hello, friends," called the spirit, its voice echoing like a soft melody. "What are you doing?" "We're celebrating," shouted Splash, waving a colorful shell with her fin. "The sea is free from the dark waves." "And it's all thanks to you," replied the spirit, its light flickering with joy. "By finding peace, I was also able to bring happiness back to all of you." Miguel, always the most curious, asked, "What will you do now that you're at peace?" "I will always be here, like the light that illuminates the sea," the spirit answered, floating closer. "I promise to protect the waters and all the beings that inhabit them." The friends exchanged glances, feeling the connection that had formed between them and the spirit. Lucia, moved, said, "We will always remember you. We will take care of the sea together." "Yes," agreed Splash, flapping her fins with enthusiasm. "We will tell your stories and keep the magic of the ocean alive." With that, the spirit began to dance with the waves, its light creating a spectacle of colors and shapes that enchanted everyone. With every movement, it spread sparkle and happiness, turning the celebration into a true marine carnival. "Look!" shouted Miguel, pointing to the light. "It's showing us how to celebrate." The sea creatures started to dance in unison, following the spirit's movements. Splash, Miguel, and Lucia joined the dance, laughing and having fun. It was a moment of pure joy, where the friendship and courage they had found during their journey became the true treasure of their lives. "Look," said Splash, gazing at the shells that sparkled in her fins. "These are the gifts the sea has given us, and the true wealth is the friendship we share," Lucia added, winking at her friends. "Absolutely," Miguel concluded, smiling as he let himself be carried away by the ocean's music. With a new understanding of the sea and its legends, Splash, Miguel, and Lucia promised to protect its waters and the secrets they held. The party continued, filled with laughter, dance, and the light of the marine spirit, which would forever illuminate their path, celebrating life and unity on the eve of Halloween. The journey doesn't end here. A new story awaits us. Amidst the vast sunflower fields of Andalusia, where sunlight poured over a sea of radiant yellow, the bee Luz danced from flower to flower. Her tiny body vibrated with the energy of spring as she pollinated the blossoms, admiring the beauty around her. The sweet and enveloping aroma of the flowers filled the air, and Luz's joyful buzzing mingled with the songs of the birds. She flew gracefully, her wings shimmering in the golden light, like a little jewel amid the splendor of nature. However, in a darker corner of the adjacent forest, something caught her attention. Luz, always curious, paused and turned her gaze toward the shadow of the trees. What could that be? She thought. With a quick movement, she approached the edge of the forest, her eyes focused on that unknown area. It was then that she spotted a trembling figure beneath a bush, a young fox with reddish fur and large eyes, who was watching her with a mix of fear and confusion. "Hi, are you okay?" Luz asked, landing gently on a nearby leaf. The fox lifted her head, her eyes shining with distrust. "Who are you?" questioned Rayo, her voice trembling. "I'm Luz, a bee. I'm here in the sunflower fields. And you? What are you doing all alone in this place?" Rayo hesitated, glancing around as if the forest could provide her with an answer. I got lost. I followed a curious sound and don't know how to get back home," she admitted, the sadness in her voice echoing in the silence around them. Luz felt a wave of empathy. The fear Rayo displayed was familiar. She knew how hard it could be to feel lost and alone. "Don't worry, I'll help you get back home," Luz assured her, her encouraging tone almost like a warm embrace. "I know this area well. Together we can find the way." The fox looked at Luz, a mix of hope and distrust in her gaze. "But what if you can't? What if it's dangerous? I may be small, but I'm quick and smart. And you, Rayo, seem to be very agile. Together, we're stronger than we are alone. I promise I'll stay by your side," Luz replied firmly. The confidence in the bee's voice began to soften Rayo's heart. She felt that, despite her initial distrust, there was something special about Luz. "Okay," Rayo finally said, her tone more resolute. "Let's try. I really want to go home." With a satisfied smile, Luz buzzed her wings, making a little joyful sound. "Great. Then let's introduce ourselves properly. I'm Luz, the bee from the sunflowers, and you are Rayo, the adventurous fox." Rayo smiled shyly, feeling a bit more at ease. "Yes, Rayo, the fox. Nice to meet you, Luz." The bee made an animated movement with her wings, and the fox felt a surge of courage. "So, what should we do first?" "Let's start along the trail by the field. I know many paths, and we can explore together. Who knows, we might find new flowers or even new friends along the way," Luz said, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Rayo, excited by the idea of an adventure, felt adrenaline coursing through her body. And so, under the golden sunlight, Luz and Rayo began their journey together, each bringing their unique skills to the partnership. The flowers swayed gently in the breeze, as if applauding the new friendship blossoming between the bee and the fox. Luz buzzed softly, the sunlight reflecting off her golden wings as she floated around the sunflowers, taking in the vibrant beauty of the field. The air was filled with the sweet scent of nectar, and each flower seemed to dance to the rhythm of the warm Andalusian breeze. However, something unsettled her. The bee noticed strange movement in the shadows of the nearby forest. Curious and fearless, Luz decided to investigate. As she approached the forest's edge, Luz spotted a figure trembling and hidden beneath the leaves. It was Ryo, the fox, with wide eyes and a curled body, as if trying to become invisible. Luz landed softly, allowing her tiny feet to touch the ground gently. "Hi," Luz said, her voice sweet and welcoming. "Are you okay? What happened?" Ryo slowly lifted her head, her eyes shining with fear and distrust. I got lost," she replied, her voice trembling. "I followed a curious sound, and now I don't know how to get back home." The bee observed the fox, noticing the anxiety in her gaze. Luz flew a little closer, keeping a respectful distance so as not to scare her further. "Don't worry, I can help you. I know these fields very well. We can find the way together." Ryo hesitated. "But you're a bee, and I'm just a fox. What can a bee do for me?" "I can fly high and see what's ahead of us," Luz explained, her voice full of encouragement. "And you have incredible skills that I don't possess. Together, we are stronger. You just need to trust me." Ryo looked down, reflecting on Luz's words. She felt that the bee was sincere, but a shadow of doubt still lingered. "What if we encounter dangers along the way? What if we can't find our way back?" "Then we will face it together," Luz replied, her wings sparkling in the sun. "Friendship is about helping each other, no matter the challenges. You don't need to be afraid. We'll support one another." Luz's words began to warm Ryo's heart. She had always been cautious and distrustful, but the prospect of having someone by her side started to encourage her. "All right," Ryo finally said, lifting her head. "I accept your help. My name is Ryo, and what about you?" "I'm Luz," the bee replied, smiling, and a glimmer of hope lit up her eyes. "Let's get to know each other better as we walk. That way, we can become friends." The two began their journey, Luz flying alongside Ryo, who was walking cautiously, admiring each sunflower that had previously gone unnoticed. "Look at these flowers," Luz commented, flying close to a golden petal. "They're so beautiful. Did you know they turn toward the sun? It's like they're always seeking the light." Ryo smiled for the first time. "I never noticed that. Actually, I used to run through here, but I never stopped to look." "Sometimes, stopping and observing is all we need," Luz said, her voice soft and encouraging. "And when we look closely, we can discover incredible things." Ryo began to feel more at ease, and with each step they took, her anxiety lessened. "Thank you, Luz. I really appreciate your help. I didn't expect to find a friend in a place like this." "Friendship can be found in the most unexpected places," Luz replied, spinning in the air. "Now, let's find your way back. The sun is high, and we have much to explore." With a new sense of determination, Ryo allowed her insecurity to be replaced by the excitement of adventure. As they walked, the two began to share stories about their lives, their hopes, and especially what motivated them. Luz spoke about the hive and the importance of teamwork, while Ryo shared tales of her mischief and how she had always dreamed of having a friend. The journey had begun, and together, Luz and Ryo were ready to face whatever came their way. The sun shone brightly over the fields of sunflowers, and the newly formed friendship between a bee and a fox promised to be the light that illuminated their paths. The sun gently illuminated the sunflower fields, creating a stunning scene that stretched as far as the eye could see. Luz, the bee, flew happily among the flowers, collecting pollen and admiring the beauty of the world around her. Suddenly, a strange shadow crossed her path. Curious, she approached a creek that wound its way between the trees. The sound of the water intrigued her, but as she got closer, she realized that there was something more there. "Ryo?" Luz called, recognizing the young fox she had met earlier. Ryo was standing at the creek's edge, looking at the water with a mix of fear and hesitation. The bee landed next to her, buzzing her wings quickly to dispel the worry. "What's wrong?" I don't know how to cross, Ryo replied, her voice trembling. What if I fall in? Luz noticed the uncertainty in the fox's eyes and felt a strong urge to help her. You're agile, Ryo. Look around you. I'm sure there's a way to get across, encouraged Luz, flying a bit closer to the bank. Trust your abilities. We'll figure this out together. Ryo took a deep breath, looking at the creek that reflected the sky. Do you really think I can? Doubt still lingered in her mind. Of course. You're stronger than you think, said Luz, cheering her on. Try using your paws and find a way through. I'll stay here and guide you. With one last look at the water, Ryo decided to try. She stepped back a few paces, observing the stones that jutted out on the surface of the creek. Okay, I'll try, she murmured, her determination beginning to outweigh her fear. With cautious movements, Ryo approached the stones, using her agility to leap from one to another. That's it! You're doing great! Luz shouted, buzzing with excitement as she watched the fox move with increasing confidence. Ryo's heart began to race, not just from fear, but from the adrenaline of overcoming her challenge. When she reached the last stone, she looked at Luz, a smile forming on her face. I did it! I did it! Ryo exclaimed, and the joy in her voice was contagious. Yes, you did it! Luz buzzed with happiness, flying in circles around the fox. Now, let's cross the rest. Together they moved forward, but soon a distant roar cut through the air, causing both to freeze in alarm. What was that? Ryo whispered, her eyes wide with fear. I don't know, but it sounds like we have company, Luz replied, her voice low and serious. We need to hide. The two ran to a nearby bush where they crouched down, watching what was happening. Soon, a gang of predators appeared, walking with heavy steps and hungry gazes. Ryo shrank down even further, fear consuming her. What if they find us? She asked, her voice barely escaping. Stay calm, Ryo. We need to be smart. They can't see us, Luz whispered, her heart racing. The wise crow they had met earlier flew overhead, observing the scene from above. These are just challenges, and challenges can be overcome, murmured Luz, trying to soothe Ryo. We should wait until they move on. As the predators roamed, Luz and Ryo remained silent, their hearts pounding. The tension in the air was palpable, but Luz knew that the only way to get through this moment was to trust the friendship they were building. Finally, the predators moved on, and the two emerged from their hiding place. Phew, that was close, Ryo said, her body still trembling. Yes, but we made it. Friendship is a powerful force, Ryo. Whenever we're together, we can face anything, Luz asserted, flying alongside the fox. Ryo looked out at the sunflower fields, feeling a renewed determination blossom in her heart. You're right, Luz. Together we can overcome any challenge. And so, with renewed spirit, they continued their journey, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As Luz and Ryo hid in the thick bush, Ryo's heart raced, a mix of fear and curiosity. The green leaves around them seemed to dance in the wind, while the roars of the predators echoed in the distance, creating a tense atmosphere. Luz, on the other hand, was attentive, her small eyes shining with expectation. We need to stay quiet and wait for them to pass, Luz whispered, trying to calm the fox. Ryo simply nodded, nervously glancing at the path from which the predators had come. In the midst of the silence, a different sound broke the tension. A deep, grave caw was approaching. Luz lifted her head and saw an old crow landing on a low branch nearby, watching them with interest. Its feathers were a deep black, with a blue sheen that reflected the sunlight. The crow's gaze was wise, almost as if it carried stories from ancient times. "Hello, little travelers," said the crow in a raspy but friendly voice. "It seems you are in trouble." Luz, always the bolder one, replied, "We're trying to get home. We were caught off guard by predators, and now we don't know what to do." Ryo, still nervous, hid a little more behind Luz, but curiosity took hold of her, and she listened to the conversation. The crow tilted its head, observing them with a perceptive look. "Ah, the journey home can be full of challenges, but remember, it is in difficulties that we find our true strength within ourselves." The fox, intrigued, peered out from behind Luz. "How do you know that?" Ryo asked, her voice a bit hesitant. "Have you faced predators?" The crow let out a soft laugh, as if recalling old stories. "Ah, my young fox, I have seen much in this life. I have lived through storms and calms, always learning from each experience. The key to overcoming challenges is unity. When creatures come together, they form a power that can overcome even the greatest obstacles." "Unity," Ryo repeated, reflecting on the crow's words. Luz glanced at Ryo, realizing that the fox was starting to open up. "We are different, but we have managed to help each other so far," Luz commented, encouraging her friend. "Yes, exactly," the crow exclaimed, nodding its head. "The friendship between different species is one of the greatest powers there is. I have known many who doubted each other, but when they learned to trust and collaborate, they achieved incredible things." Ryo looked at Luz, and a new light sparkled in her eyes. "Maybe you're right. I always thought I had to face everything alone, but you, Luz, have shown me that I can trust you." "That's right, Ryo," Luz smiled, her small form vibrating with enthusiasm. "We are in this journey together. We can overcome anything if we work as a team." The crow watched their interaction with a satisfied smile. "Remember, little travelers, the world is vast and full of challenges. But with courage and friendship, you can find your way, even in the darkest hours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must fly. But continue on, and always remember what you've learned." "Thank you, Mr. Crow," Luz said, as Ryo nodded her head, a new energy growing within her. "We promise to remember." With one last caw, the crow took flight, disappearing among the leaves of the forest. Luz and Ryo exchanged glances, sensing that a new understanding had formed between them. The weight of fear began to dissipate, and hope took its place. "Ready to continue?" Luz asked, her wings buzzing with anticipation. "Yes," Ryo replied, now more confident. "Let's face whatever comes our way together." And with this renewed determination, the two friends prepared to move forward, ready to confront what fate still had in store for them on their journey through the fields of sunflowers. The sky, which had previously shone in radiant blue, began to darken rapidly, as if a curtain of heavy clouds was being pulled over the landscape of Andalusia. Luz, the bee, felt the air change around her. A strong wind blew, swaying the sunflowers and making their yellow petals dance in a frantic rhythm. Ryo, the young fox, looked up and noticed the change in the atmosphere, her heart racing with the sense that something was about to happen. "Luz, this doesn't look good," Ryo said, her voice trembling. "We should find shelter before the storm hits." The ever-optimistic bee replied, "Let's look for a safe place. The field is vast, and there's always shelter nearby. Focus, Ryo. Together, we can find one." They ran through the field, but soon the sky opened up into a torrent of rain. Heavy drops began to fall, and the temperature plummeted. Luz flew ahead, her small eyes alert for signs of shelter. Ryo, on the other hand, was struggling to keep up, trying to protect herself from the rain that drenched her. The wind pushed against her, and the fox felt increasingly vulnerable. "There! That big leaf!" Luz exclaimed, pointing to a giant sunflower bending under the weight of the water. "Let's hide there!" With effort, Ryo made her way to the leaf, where Luz was already taking cover. They huddled together, watching the raindrops slide across the ground like tiny streams. The fox trembled, not only from the cold, but also from the fear of getting lost in the storm. "I don't like this, Luz," Ryo whispered. What if we get separated? What if I can't find my way home? Luz, sensing her friend's distress, moved closer. Ryo, look at me. We won't get separated. I will always be by your side. Remember what the crow told us. Together we are stronger. The storm will pass, and we will get through this. At that moment, the rain intensified, and the water began to pool around them. Ryo looked at Luz, her eyes shining with worry. But what if the water carries us away? I don't know how to swim. Trust me, Luz replied firmly. I will fly to find a safer place. You just need to stay calm and follow my example. I can help you find a way, but you need to trust your instincts. The fox hesitated, but the determination in Luz's words encouraged her. All right, I'll try. But where are you going? I'm going to see if there's a higher place or a rock where we can better shelter ourselves. Don't worry, I'll be back quickly. With that, Luz took flight, her wings buzzing as they cut through the falling rain. Ryo watched the bee fly away, a mix of admiration and fear washing over her. The rain was torrential, and every second felt like an eternity. She remembered the crow's words about the strength of friendship and began to calm down. I can do this, she murmured to herself. While Luz flew in search of safer shelter, Ryo started to think about how she could use her own abilities. If Luz could fly, maybe she could find a way to protect herself too. With a new sense of determination, the fox began to look around, searching for something she could use to keep herself safe. Finally, Luz returned, her wet wings glistening under the faint light of the storm. Ryo, I found a cave in the rocks up there. It's a safe place. We need to move quickly before the water rises more. Ryo smiled, feeling a wave of relief. Let's go then. I trust you, Luz. With that, they left the leaf and ran together, the water reaching their ankles. Luz flew ahead, guiding Ryo, who now felt more confident. They battled against the current and finally reached the cave that Luz had found. As soon as they entered, the storm roared outside, but inside the cave, they were safe. We made it, Ryo exclaimed, taking a deep breath. Thank you, Luz. You really are amazing. I didn't do it alone, Ryo. We both made it happen, and we still have the storm to face together, Luz replied, smiling at her friend. The two sat at the cave's entrance, watching the torrential rain fall outside. The storm might be fierce, but the friendship they had built was even stronger. As the raindrops began to evaporate under the sunlight emerging after the storm, the air was filled with the freshness of the wet earth. Luz and Ryo, now more united, sat in a small clearing where the green grass shone and the flowers bloomed in a display of colors. However, the joy from their journey could not entirely dispel the shadow that lingered over Ryo's heart. Are you okay? Luz asked, flying a little closer to the fox, who seemed distant, lost in her thoughts. Ryo's gaze drifted away, and she sighed deeply, as if trying to expel a weight that followed her. It's just, I don't know if I can keep going. Sometimes, I feel like I'm not good enough for this, Ryo said, her voice trembling. I've always been alone, Luz, and now that I'm here with you, I feel like I can't open my heart. Luz landed beside her, her small paws gently touching the grass. Ryo, you don't need to be perfect to be my friend. Everyone has their insecurities. I have mine too. You? Ryo looked at Luz, surprised. But you're a bee. You always seem so confident, so full of energy. I'm just a fox, and I don't know how to deal with all this. The bee smiled gently, her wings fluttering softly. I can fly, but that doesn't mean I don't have my fears. When I left the hive for the first time, I was terrified. The world is big and unknown, and I didn't know how to face it. But I learned that when we have friends by our side, things become easier. Ryo tilted her head, intrigued. Really? What happened? Well, Once I got lost in a field of flowers. I was so focused and distracted that I didn't realize I had flown too far from the hive. I was scared, not knowing how to get back. But then I found other insects willing to help me. Each one had a different skill. Some knew the best paths, while others knew where to find the sweetest nectar. Together, we managed to get back home, Luz explained, her eyes shining as she shared her story. So, you weren't alone? Ryo asked, her voice becoming softer. Exactly, and that's what I want to say. You might not always have someone by your side, but that doesn't mean you should carry everything alone. I'm here now. We can face challenges together. You don't have to be afraid to open up. I promise I won't abandon you, Ryo. Luz asserted firmly. Luz's words seemed to resonate within Ryo, who began to feel a little lighter. But what if I fail? What if I let you down? And what if you don't fail? What if you discover that you're stronger than you think? Luz replied, looking directly into Ryo's eyes. True friendship isn't about not making mistakes, but about supporting each other, no matter what happens. Even if you fall, I'll be here to help you get back up. And just as you help me now, I'll also be learning from you. The fox looked down, reflecting. Do you really believe I can be helpful? That I can be your friend? I not only believe it, but I already see it happening, Luz exclaimed, flapping her wings excitedly. You already helped me cross the stream, and even when you hid with me from the group of predators, we're a great team. Ryo began to feel warmth in her heart, a new kind of hope. Maybe I can try. I don't want you to think I'm just a scared fox. You're not just that, Ryo. You are so much more. And who knows what else we can achieve together, Luz encouraged, making the fox smile shyly. That moment of vulnerability and sincerity strengthened the bonds between them. Ryo took a deep breath, feeling more confident. All right, Luz. I'll try to open up more and trust you. Thank you for being such an incredible friend. Luz smiled, satisfied. And I promise I'll always be by your side, no matter what happens. Together, we're stronger. As Luz and Ryo continued their journey, the sunflower field turned into a labyrinth of shadows and dancing lights, creating a magical yet unsettling scene. The atmosphere of tranquility was abruptly interrupted when a deep, menacing roar echoed across the plain. The two looked at each other, survival instincts stirring within them. Luz, what was that? Ryo asked, her wide eyes filled with fear. Her voice trembled as she shrank back, trying to hide behind one of the tall sunflowers. It seems we have some unwanted company, Luz replied, flying a little higher to get a better view of what was happening. She spotted a group of predators approaching, their silhouettes stark against the setting sun. We need to hide now. The two moved quickly to a dense bush, crouching down and trying to make themselves invisible. Luz, with her small wings fluttering lightly, kept watch, while Ryo, panting, curled up even tighter, her heart pounding. Look, they're coming, Luz whispered, pointing with one of her legs. We need to come up with a plan. Ryo watched the predators draw near, their sharp claws and fierce gazes intimidating. How are we going to escape? They're much bigger and faster. The fox was in a panic, feeling the darkness closing in around them. Calm down, Ryo, Luz said, trying to instill courage in her friend. We need to use what we have. I can fly and distract them, and you can move quickly on the ground. If we work together, we can get out of this. The fox looked at Luz, admiring her bravery. But what if it doesn't work? What if they catch us? And what if it does work? Luz insisted, her determination lighting up the gloomy atmosphere. Trust me, our friendship is a powerful force. Together, we are more than just a bee and a fox. Ryo took a deep breath, and although still anxious, she felt a wave of determination rising within her. Okay, let's do this. What do you need me to do? When I start flying in circles, you move towards the other side of the bush and try to get away as fast as you can. That way, if I draw their attention, you'll have a chance, Luz explained, her voice firm. All right, I'm ready, Ryo replied, her heart racing, but now with a purpose. With a swift movement, Luz took to the air, her body buzzing with energy. She began to hum and fly in circles, creating a deafening buzzing sound. The predators, intrigued, raised their heads, their eyes locking onto the tiny bee dancing in the air. Hey, up here! Come and catch me! Luz shouted, her voice echoing across the plain. The group of predators turned, focusing all their attention on the audacious bee. One of them, an agile feline, leaped towards Luz, but she managed to dodge, swiftly flying in a new direction. Now, Ryo, it's your turn, Luz called, while continuing to circle in the air. Ryo, seizing the distraction, darted to the opposite side of the bush, her agile paws propelling her quickly across the field. The predators, now completely absorbed in chasing Luz, didn't notice Ryo moving. The fox used her cunning, zigzagging between the sunflowers, her red fur almost blending in with the golden flowers around her. Adrenaline surged through her veins, and she felt a sense of freedom she had never experienced before. I made it! I'm on my way! Ryo shouted, her voice filled with relief and joy. She looked at Luz, who was still dancing in the air, skillfully avoiding the predator's attacks. Great job, Ryo! Keep it up! Luz encouraged, her heart pounding with emotion and pride for her friend. Finally, after a tense few minutes of pursuit, Luz spotted an opening and dove towards the ground, where Ryo awaited, breathless and ecstatic. We did it! We did it! The fox exclaimed, her tail wagging with joy. Yes, we did it, Luz replied, a smile in her voice. They looked at each other, the adrenaline from their escape still coursing through their bodies, and in that moment, they both understood that their friendship and collaboration had been the key to escaping danger. After a long journey filled with challenges and triumphs, Luz and Ryo finally spotted the familiar clearing where the fox used to play as a child. Ryo's heart raced at the sight of the path that led her back home, but joy was soon overshadowed by a shadow of concern. A massive tree had fallen, completely blocking the way. Its thick branches and exposed roots seemed like an impenetrable wall. Look, Ryo, Luz exclaimed, flying a little higher for a better view. There it is. It's your home. But no, how are we going to get past this? Ryo paused, her gaze fixed on the fallen tree. Frustration mixed with hopelessness. I don't know, Luz. It looks impossible. I'm never going to be able to get back home like this. Calm down, Ryo. Let's think together. You're smarter than you realize. Luz encouraged, landing on a nearby leaf, her tiny wings still trembling with excitement. Maybe we can find a way around it. Ryo took a deep breath, trying to shake off the feeling of helplessness. But what if there are more obstacles? What if I can't find a way? I don't want to leave you behind, Luz. Hey, Luz said, her eyes shining. Remember what we've learned so far. Every challenge is an opportunity. You've overcome so much. Look at everything we've faced together. You can do this. The fox began to move around the trunk of the tree, her light paws moving cautiously. But what if I get lost again? What if I can't find a way? Trust yourself, Luz replied, flying alongside her. Look at what we have around us. The field is vast, and you know it better than you think. Let's use your cleverness and see what we can accomplish. Ryo paused, gazing at the trunk of a tree. Maybe I can climb a bit. If I can reach the top, I might see a way for us to get through. Great idea, Luz exclaimed, excited. I think you can do it. Remember, you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to help you. With renewed determination, Ryo began to scale the trunk. Her paws gripped the rough bark as she climbed, using all her agility. Luz watched from the ground, flying in circles as if cheering her on. You're doing so well, Ryo. Almost there. Finally, Ryo reached the top and looked around. The view was breathtaking, with sunflowers swaying in the wind under the sunlight. But what caught her attention was a small opening between the branches of a nearby tree. "Luz, I see something. There's a hole over there. It looks like we can get through." "Excellent," Luz replied, her voice echoing with enthusiasm. "Come down and let's give it a try. You can do it, Ryo." Ryo quickly descended, her heart racing with the thrill of accomplishment. When she reached the ground, she turned to Luz. "Let's go then. We can't miss the chance to get back home." The two approached the hole, which was small but just big enough for both to fit through. Ryo hesitated for a moment, looking at the narrow space. "Do you think we can get through here?" "Absolutely. I'll go first, and you follow me, okay?" Luz said, flying to the entrance of the hole. "Trust me." Luz entered first, and Ryo followed, feeling a flutter of nerves. The passage was narrow and a bit dark, but the sunlight shone at the exit, guiding them. Ryo could feel Luz's presence by her side, giving her courage. "We're almost there," Luz shouted from the other side. "Just a little more." With one last push, both managed to emerge from the hole. Ryo gasped, looking around. "We did it! We really did!" The words came out as a joyful shout. "See, I knew you could," Luz replied, buzzing with happiness. "Now we're so close to home." Ryo beamed, feeling stronger and more confident with each step they took. "Thank you, Luz. Without you, I wouldn't have made it." "That's what we do, Ryo. We help each other," Luz said, and together they walked toward Ryo's home, confident that the friendship they had built was the strength they would always need to face any challenges ahead. As they arrived at Ryo's home, sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a warm display of colors that enveloped the clearing. The fox, with her heart racing, paused for a moment, soaking in the familiarity of the place she hadn't seen in so long. The scent of the damp earth and wildflowers made her feel at home again, though she was still marked by the uncertainty of her journey. Luz, the bee, flew beside her, excited and proud of the friendship they had forged. "Look, Ryo, is this where you live?" Luz exclaimed, admiring the beauty of the fox's small shelter. The structure was simple, but full of life, with wildflowers blooming around it and a small river meandering nearby. "It's enchanting." Ryo looked at Luz, a shy smile appearing on her face. "Yes, it's my home. I used to explore every corner, but I got lost." "But you're not lost anymore. You found a new friend along the way," Luz said, winking. "And I'm so happy we made this journey together." Ryo felt warmth rise in her chest, and gratitude overflowed. "I wouldn't have made it without you, Luz. You showed me that friendship can be a powerful force. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Luz replied, flying a little higher. "Just seeing you back home is enough for me. You are strong and brave, Ryo. And now I know you can also trust others." The fox, touched by the bee's words, turned to look at the path they had traveled together. "If it weren't for you, I'd still be lost in the forest, scared and alone. And if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have discovered the beauty of courage and friendship," Luz replied, with a tone of wisdom. "Now let's celebrate your return." With that spirit, Ryo approached Luz and in an unexpected gesture said, "Wait here for a moment." The bee watched, intrigued, as the fox walked toward a small bush. Ryo returned with a flower in her mouth, a small, vibrant sunflower that reflected the bright sunlight. "This is for you, Luz," Ryo said, placing the flower gently in front of the bee. "As a symbol of our friendship, I want you to always remember me and the journey we took." Luz was moved, her wings fluttering lightly with joy. "Oh, Ryo, it's beautiful. But it's not necessary. I'll already keep our adventure in my heart forever." "I know, but I want you to have something physical to remember me by. When you look at it, I want you to remember that there will always be a home for you here, and that you are always welcome," Ryo said, her eyes shining with sincerity. The bee, touched, took the flower with her front legs and held it close to her body. "I promise to take care of it with all my heart. Thank you, Ryo. You've become an amazing friend, and I will never forget what we experienced together." With the flower in hand, Luz flew a little higher, looking around and appreciating the scenery. "And now, I need to return to my hive. But whenever I look at this flower, I will remember you and all the adventures we shared." Ryo nodded, a mix of happiness and sadness in her gaze. "I'm going to miss you, Luz, but I know this is not a goodbye. It's a see you later." The bee made a small spin in the air, leaving a trail of sparkle behind her. "See you later, Ryo, and remember, friendship is the greatest strength we can have." With one last glance at the fox, Luz flew away, her heart full of joy and gratitude. As Ryo watched her friend depart, a smile spread across her face, feeling stronger and more confident than ever. The friendship they had cultivated would remain with both, a bond that would never break, regardless of the distance. As Luz flew back to her hive, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The bee, exhausted but happy, felt fulfilled after the incredible journey with Ryo. However, as she approached home, a feeling of unease began to grow in her chest. Something was wrong. When she finally spotted the hive, her heart raced. The flowers surrounding it were wilting, and the buzzing that usually echoed at the entrance of the hive sounded weaker than ever. Luz landed quickly on a flower that had once been vibrant but now appeared sad and lifeless. "What's happening here?" Luz asked, her voice trembling with concern. She approached some worker bees who were tending to the flowers, trying to understand the situation. "Luz!" one of the bees exclaimed, her expression frantic. "Pollination has been scarce. The flowers are dying, and we're facing a serious crisis. If we don't find a solution quickly, the hive may not survive." Despair filled Luz's heart. She knew she needed to act, but how? Looking around for a solution, an idea emerged. She remembered the friendship she had built with Ryo and how the fox had helped her on her journey. "Wait!" Luz shouted, flying quickly away from the hive. "I have a friend who can help us." Meanwhile, Ryo, back at her home, sat on a rock, reflecting on the friendship she had formed with Luz. The day had been long and tiring, but her heart was warmed by the memories of their journey. Suddenly, she heard a familiar buzzing. Looking up, she saw Luz approaching, her expression anxious and desperate. "Luz, what happened?" Ryo asked, rushing toward the bee. "The hive," Luz replied, panting. "We need you. The flowers are wilting and the bees are in danger. You're fast and clever. Can you help us find new sources of nectar?" Ryo's eyes lit up, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She remembered all the lessons she had learned during her journey with Luz. She had become more confident and was ready to help. "Of course, let's do this together," Ryo said, her spirit lifted. "Let's save your hive." The two set off, running and flying across the sunflower fields, joining forces on an urgent mission. Ryo used her keen sense of smell to identify flowers that might still have nectar, while Luz flew alongside her, encouraging her and sharing her observations. "Look, Ryo." Luz pointed to an area where the flowers were still healthy and vibrant. "We should investigate there." Ryo dashed ahead, her agile feet moving quickly over the ground. Upon reaching the flowers, she began to sniff around, catching the sweet scent of nectar. "Here! I smell the nectar!" Ryo exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Let's get the bees to come here." Luz immediately flew back to the hive, calling the worker bees with an excited buzz. "Bees of the hive, follow me! We found a place full of nectar!" The workers, filled with excitement and hope, followed Luz to the new location. As soon as they arrived, Ryo positioned herself beside Luz. watching the bees gather around the flowers. "Look how happy they are," Ryo observed, feeling a wave of satisfaction. "We did it." As the bees began to pollinate the flowers, Luz and Ryo exchanged glances, a deep sense of accomplishment filling the air. "You were amazing, Ryo," Luz praised, gently flapping her wings. "Your courage and wisdom were essential." "I couldn't have done it without you, Luz. Our friendship made all of this possible," Ryo replied, her heart brimming with gratitude. Over time, the flowers began to regain their vitality, and the hive was revived. The bees, now working in harmony, ensured the survival of the hive, and Ryo, alongside Luz, felt stronger than ever. Their friendship not only overcame challenges, but also united the creatures of the field in a greater purpose. In the celebration that followed, Luz and Ryo were honored. The wise crow, who had witnessed the entire journey, perched on a nearby tree and looked on with a smile. "Look, everyone," he proclaimed. "True friendship and collaboration can overcome any obstacle. May this union be an example for us all." Luz and Ryo exchanged smiles, knowing that together they could face any storm that life might bring. Close your eyes, my beloved ones, and let the magic of the night embrace you. Tomorrow, we shall share more stories to bring you joy. Sweet dreams and good night.